This is the sweet sound of success with Sue Wilhite, Profit Attraction Master. Tela Talise is a professional artist, entrepreneur, educator, and self-care coach. She is also a college professor holding multiple degrees and certifications in fine arts, illustration, leadership, management, and education. In 2015, she founded her passion and business called My Path Inspired to provide vibrant, symbolic, nature-based art to the world. She is an advocate for depression awareness, so needed, and shows the world the power of nature-inspired self-awareness as a way for living with more joy and abundance. She is known for her layers of symbolism in her paintings, which are gorgeous. We're going to be showing you some in a little bit, and often jokes about the line of animal messengers awaiting their portraits. Not only are the animal messengers awaiting portraits, she is in the process of creating a personal empowerment inspirational card deck that people all over the world eagerly await. When she's not creating or teaching, she can be found among the sunflowers in the garden, bird watching, hiking, or admiring the waves at the beach. She resides in New Jersey with her husband, daughter, and son. Welcome, Tela.
I am so excited to be here. So thank you for welcoming me into this beautiful setting to have this great discussion.
Yeah. Oh, I have been so looking forward to this for months, literally months. And I've got to say, I can't wait to show people your artwork because it is truly stunning. And thank you for the card of the Blue Jay that you sent me. That was really amazing. And someday I'll tell you why Blue Jays are important to me too. So,
It's awesome.
Yeah. And I'll just let people know that in New Jersey, there's kind of a storm going on right now. So we'll just sort of work around any of the nature-inspired stuff that comes up.
Yes.
We'll make it work. So as you know, but as many of our viewers might not know, the way that the Sweet Sound of Success podcast is organized is around Joseph Campbell's Hero with a Thousand Faces, and in particular, the hero's journey. And so I'm going to be structuring this interview around Tela's journey. So to start out with, tell me about your ordinary beginning.
Oh, ordinary. That word I don't use that often.
Right.
So for me to start off before 2015, I worked in the corporate world and had a nice secure comfy job, but it wasn't the soul crunch, thirst job that nourished my soul. So after seeing my kids raised by other people and looking around at my life and going, what is going on? And being handed a diagnosis of depression, I decided, hey, I got to do something for myself. What will actually nourish my soul, bring me closer to family, and make me vibrant again? So My Path Inspired, my business, was established in 2015. I walked away from a job that I did like, but it wasn't nourishing. So I used to be a court mediator. So lots of conflict and emotions, and being an empath, that was fun.
Right.
So 2015, I opened up my Etsy store. I started My Path Inspired, and My Path Inspired is a art-based business where I create meaningful art. And the vision of My Path Inspired, to just give you the short cliff notes version, is creating art from the heart with meaningful messages from nature and spirit. So basically, I created artwork that was full of symbolism. The short version of my story is, with my dealing with depression, I did not take it very well, very prideful person. So I went to my own art therapy. I went to school for art, graphic arts, fine arts, didn't touch a paintbrush in over 10 years. And I decided I'm taking that paintbrush back out. I'm taking out that canvases. And I started doing mandalas, these beautiful circular patterns. And I asked to the universe, please send me a message. What do I need to do? And this was the start of my intuitive art process or active meditation. And hummingbird came through. Yeah. So just by mindfully just going, and my hand led the way, hummingbird came, and then I started seeing hummingbirds everywhere, and these symbols started emerging. And I was attracted to the symbolism and what is this? Like, why are these animals popping up? And basically, this is the start of how my Path Inspired started, was starting to basically document my journey of healing that eventually came this beautiful business now where I coach people about symbolism and art in my business. And I also have an Etsy store. And just by doing that one painting led to so many other animals, as you said, getting in line for their portraits. And here I am 5 years later, just soaking in all that goodness and helping people in exploring how symbolism makes the unconscious conscious and helps us grow in our self-care journey. So that's my business in a nutshell, is just giving you the short version of it. And since then, I've been doing workshops with how animal guides help, how symbolism. And the beautiful thing about my business is no matter where you're at on your journey, symbols are your universal language. They can help anybody that's willing to have an open heart and to be open to seeing how a symbol can mirror back something to us to help us grow. So that's basically my short version of it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. As you know, I also do tarot. And this is what I tell people is tarot is nothing more than 78 pieces of laminated cardboard, but the symbols that are on there are what define our unconscious. There's 78 slices of the human psyche, and they just come out and they're real for everyone. And animals, my goodness, talk about, Jungian sort of deep collective unconscious. Animals are part of our heritage. It's part of our DNA. We can't escape our connection to animals. And so this is an absolutely delightful way of helping people to get to know their own selves. So that is fabulous. I love it. Absolutely love it. So tell me about some of the challenges that you've had on your journey. Obviously, depression is a biggie. Getting a diagnosis of depression is often very depressing in and of itself. And I say that kind of jokingly, but really it plunges people into despair because depression has a really bad rap.
It really does. And that's just part of it. And with a diagnosis like that, like I said, I was very prideful. I still consider that being a prideful person, but when you're told that there's something wrong with you, and it really deters your confidence when it's already been lowered by a diagnosis. So for me, with my business and going back to the challenges I had, I was able to build confidence through the messages and the symbolism that I was personally working with. So with every painting, such as hummingbird popping up first, which is a symbol of happiness and joy. The next thing would pop up, such as woodpecker knocking at my door for opportunity to start teaching, that came a couple years later. The ability to actually see and look and be open-minded to looking at where are the guidance from the universe? What symbols are showing up in my life? We're technically never alone. So to answer your question, a challenge I had was I felt alone. Right. Backtracking to that, looking for those symbols. And now what I teach people, you're never really alone. You have all the help. You have to set the intention. So for me, the challenge was, how do I feel not alone in this universe? Even though I had loving friends and family, I still felt like the odd man out.
Right.
So for me, it was all about learning about animal medicine and different traditions that preach that and learn from that. That was one method or modality I used in my practice of growing my business. The second is the fact that I'm a college professor. Yay! It's still hard for me to actually say that because, again, I have pride, but being in my 30s when I was first getting into being a professor, it was kind of surreal. Like, I'm teaching people how to do this, and it gave me another confidence boost. But teaching people leadership, it's the same no matter what you're doing in a business. You have to take leadership for what you're doing. So when you feel bad, yeah, you take the time to go within. Like to say, harness that turtle energy, go inside your shell, do that work, inner child, shadow work, whatever you may want to do. Go talk to a therapist, whatever it works for you. It's okay to have that downtime. So that was my second one. My challenge was I needed downtime, and my business did not flourish overnight. This has been 5 years in the making, and it's a beautiful seeing it blossom, but it's like planting seeds in the ground.
Yes.
So for anybody that comes to me and says, I want to start a business, I'm like, yes, I'm so excited for you. I'm going to help you. But no, it's like planting a garden.
Yes.
You've got to plant the seeds. You have to nourish it with nourishing people around you. And if you don't have that, go find it. Even if it's talking, like I will admit, I went to a therapist to talk out my feelings, to build my confidence. Right. I've been to coaches. I even went to Dr. Stephen Farmer as one of my mentors, which I absolutely love. He has beautiful cards and books to help me with the symbolism part. So coaches, getting the help you need, free or paid, whatever works for you. Because I started off as free because I didn't have the funds. The resources are out there. So I tend to go into lectures, so I'm going to wrap myself up. But the two things was basically taking back the negative and going, it's okay to go within. And then second is making sure that you're always supported. So that's my answer.
Right. Well, I'm gonna sort of piggyback on, the whole planting a seed thing. I'm sure you're familiar with this because you've got kids, but you always see kids that they have this exercise in school where they plant, peas or beans, and they're waiting for it to grow, and they're always digging them up to see how it's going, or they're always tugging on them to make them grow faster because they think that's what's going to work. And we do that in our businesses. It's like, why haven't I made $1 million and it's only been 4 days?
Yes.
And yeah, sometimes things can work like that. The right combination of product timing and you can totally make $1 million in 4 days. Absolutely. Mostly it takes time, just like planting a seed. It just takes time and nourishing and watering. And sometimes it's just not the right season. If you plant something at the beginning of, say, November, December here in the Western Hemisphere, it ain't going to grow until March or April. Because the ground's just too cold. It doesn't have enough resources. So you've got to give it the resources that it needs in order to grow. And so, yes, absolutely. Big challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs is impatience.
Yes, I love that, because the seed symbolism of that, it's, again, you have to also, if you don't know what kind of nourishment your seeds need, then you have to do the research. So another tip I give my business people, I used to do business coaching, and it was always, what's your vision? Like, do you have a vision? Now, if you're doing something that doesn't light up your soul, you're not going to nourish that garden like somebody else would. So always putting the vision into your watering can, I like to say, is an important factor of it.
Absolutely. 100%. So tell me, you started to tell me, you mentioned Dr. Stephen Farmer and you mentioned a therapist, but entrepreneurs cannot do it alone. I harp on this every single episode. We cannot work by ourselves. Who were some of the other allies, mentors, guides, coaches, wizards with large staffs and big floppy hats, who might have, which actually describes Stephen Farmer really reasonably well. But who were some of the others that helped you along?
You got it. So there's many. Just off the top of my head, the ones, of course, being a leadership professor, I always loved the books by Dr. Stephen Covey. He no longer with us, but son still carries on his leadership philosophies. So in business, he teaches you how to start with the end result in mind.
Right.
Just to give you an example of one of his practices. So that meant a lot to me starting off on this business journey as an entrepreneur. But getting back to my business is kind of more of a heart approach business. Mentors from books like Ted Andrews. He did Animal Speak, for example. Beautiful messages, beautiful examples. So the mentors in my life that gave you examples, not just tell you what to do, but actually give you the application and the exercises, like Ted Andrews, Dr. Stephen Farmer. Those people have always resided in my heart. And I like to think when we have these leaders, we put them into one big pot of like soup and we make it our own when we absorb it all in, and we become a little bit of each of these mentors. So, and then of course I had my most recent one, Ariel Asher, in our beautiful book that I'm a co-author in. Ariel is compiling this beautiful book of healing mind, body, and soul. And I have a chapter in that book where I'm helping people learn about symbolism as their self-care. So I am so big on getting coaches. So every time one coach I feel like I met where I need to be, I'm always jumping to another coach. And I'm always looking, for example, I'm looking right now for an Etsy coach. Even though I'm doing pretty good, I love where I'm at, but there's always room to grow. Yeah. So either I'm not running, but going to, should I say, yes. Someone that's working with meditation. I had meditation coaches. I had a Reiki coach because I also do Reiki. I'm always looking for that next person to let me up level, I call it, to help me grow and help me to help other people. It's like putting the oxygen mask on first.
Yes.
Getting all that beautiful nutrients and air into your system, and then you can help other people.
Right.
In the process, I am helping people, but I can be a better version of me the more I learn from other people. So.
Right. Yes. And big shout out to Ariel. She's been a guest on my show as well, a couple of episodes back. So look for that and her amazing origin story. And I am also a co-author in her book, and really looking forward for that coming out in 2021. So stay tuned for that. So tell me one more thing. When entrepreneurs sell that first product or service, when somebody gives you money for doing something that was a joy for you to do, it changes you forever, right?
Oh, yes.
It's like, somebody just sent you the invitation to the Harry Potter universe. It's magical. You've gotten into Hogwarts and now nothing is the same, except like Harry, he tries to go back to his aunt and uncle who just really don't get it about magic. And
yes.
So how do you deal with those folks who haven't had that magical experience light up their souls, change them forever? The entrepreneur is in a different way of being, and other people don't get it. I mean, they really don't get it. So what was that like for you?
Oh, this is a great one. I will start with the stereotype, the starving artist. So as you know, my primary, I do the coaching, but I'm a professional artist by trade when I'm not teaching. And for me, even if I sold one thing, it was like, it's just, you got lucky, or, you can't really make a living off making art. And actually, when I heard the negative talk about that, it actually fueled my fire a little bit more to go, I'm going to prove you wrong. Here goes the prideful side. Because you can make a living making art or doing what you do as long as the passion's there. So what you're saying with, the people coming out and like maybe not being as supportive, I was lucky enough I didn't have a lot of that, but I still had that stereotype that was out there saying this kind of field you can't support your family on, or it'll fluctuate. which
Right.
is true only if you don't put the work in. And
Yes.
that's the whole thing I try to preach to with a heart-centered business, is making sure that you put your vision behind what you're selling. For example, how I combated that was, hey, I'm going to show you I can do this, but I'm going to do A, B, and C. A being, I'm not just going to sell my beautiful art, but I'm going to teach you about the symbolism. A. B, I'm going to show you into my life. I'm going to not like keep you out of my life and just show you my art, but I'm going to show you who I am, because I am the art. I'm the soul behind the art. And 3, the niche part was, I do nature inspired art. So when you look at a business, think about what your niche is, if you have one. And if not, think about your audience. Is it really vast? Is it narrow too narrow? Is it in the middle? And that's one thing I always coach too, is with my business, I do appeal to more people in the spiritual community, but it's for anybody with an open heart that wants to know the symbolism, such as, I think I did a dragon, I think I sent you a picture of a dragonfly artwork. And in the dragonfly, it's a mandala and there's certain colors, and the certain colors represent the different chakras for those familiar with energy centers, and they all have different colors. So I would go into, hey, you're buying this beautiful piece of artwork or my print or my necklace of this, and it is giving you layers of symbolism by A, it has the blue chakra. It's reminding you to speak your truth. Right. It's a insect, it has wings, it flies above higher awareness. Just to give you examples, I could go to lecture all day on this, but to wrap it up, it's when it comes to negative talk, it's really, really important to take a step back. Because again, try to take the defense out of it. That's something I'm always working on, and make it a point to understand that the person that's on the other side doesn't understand yet. They're not aware. And how do you make them aware? By educating, by teaching, not putting your belief system on them, but just teaching them, and let them pick what seeds they want to grow in their own garden. So hopefully that answers that question, because that's a really good question.
Yeah, meeting them where they are.
Yes.
And not and allowing them to have their fears, and showing them that maybe for them it's not a viable thing, but for you, who are different and unique and amazing and an artist, you can do this. And one of my friends who's a business coach has a lovely little meme up on her website that says, "You think I can't do this? I'll meet you at the bank." I love it.
That's a good one. Yes, yes. And I always believe, just to sum up what I was saying, is when you do a business, you have to know yourself first. There's actually a quote by Toni Collette. It's, the better you know yourself, you're better the relationship with the rest of the world. And I'm always preaching this quote to people, because if you don't know who you are and what your vision is, you're actually setting yourself up to failure. Absolutely. So when you actually know who you are, and that was, again, when I was talking about the turtle going inward, making sure you know that, spending time alone or whatever you need to do for your self-care, that's part of the whole process of business ownership. You got to put the oxygen mask on first. And if I didn't, I wouldn't be here today talking and preaching to this. Right. I would have been just stuck in a hole, and like when I first got diagnosed, and just not wanting to talk to anybody and losing friends that didn't understand. That has happened, where I was in such a negative mind space. I needed to get the tools, and I did, but it's just food for thought. I wanted to end that off with.
Yeah, well, and depression is such a little insidious, creeping little thing. And then suddenly you find out that you're, 20 feet underwater and you don't have the oxygen mask. And yeah, absolutely. You've got to be able to do self-care and figure out who you are and why you're in business. Yes, the technical business MBA school definition is, you're exchanging a product or service for money or another product or service. That's kind of the MBA version. But if you don't have a vision for that, there is no exchange, right? If you don't have a vision for who you're serving, for who this is for, whatever product or service it is that you're producing, then then it's going to land nowhere. It's not useful. It's just, hey, give me some money for this thing. And people will sort of go, no, because they're not getting it. Right.
Yeah. And like you said, you really need to know who you want your product to serve. And in the business world, as you know, I come from a spiritual and a rational mind, I like to call it, background, where I studied Carl Jung, the famous 1800s psychoanalyst, where he talked about the unconscious making the conscious. And if you're not doing that by setting your vision, it makes it a lot harder in the journey of business ownership, because setting your vision and knowing who you want to serve, if you're serving everybody, that's great. But sometimes you have to narrow it down to who the people are going to most benefit from your service or product. Because if you want everybody, you're going to be disappointed because you're not going to get everybody.
That's right. That's right. So Tela, tell me, what's your favorite part about your business?
Oh, there's so many. For me, I know. When I created My Path Inspired, it was strictly art. It was just art that made me happy, and I put it on my site, and then it grew from there. I get to bring the best of three worlds. And you see me, I go into lectures, I bring in points here, like bullet points. But one is teaching. I love talking to people. I'm such an extreme introvert, believe it or not. But when I talk about this stuff, I turn into an extreme extrovert. So that brings me out and makes me more confident that I'm teaching something that brings me passionately to my soul. Two, the art. Obviously, it's something that can touch the lives of many, and they don't even know you. But I like to add in that, get to know me, please. That part, I share that if you want to get to know me. You know, I'm a little quirky, as you can see, and I'll share my studio with you if it's outdoors in the grass or if it's in my studio. But being willing to be open to share more than just the art. And then third, it's kind of like a combination. But the business, I feel like I have adult ADD. I jump around a lot, but for me, that works. It took me a while, and this is something I was really critical about myself with, is when I first started, I was like doing 40 hours of painting, because one piece of artwork, one of those mandalas that I first started with, will take at least 40 hours. Yes. And I would just get like frustrated at a certain point. I had to walk away, and that was okay, because I learned in that process, you have to do the creating when you're most aligned with it. So now what I do is now I added jewelry making to my business, where if someone doesn't want a piece of artwork, they can buy a little token, a piece of jewelry or a keychain or whatever it is, to have that symbol around them at all times to remind them, such as the hummingbird. I have so many stories. I would go in for hours. I won't do that to you. But just I'm a storyteller. If you didn't tell that already.
Yes.
But just having the combination of, I can jump to anywhere in my business. I can do marketing one day. I can do share behind the scenes in a blog, which I'm working on now, actually, mypathinspired.com, where I'm going to have a blog. I'm adding to this year. So every year I'm adding to my business and diversifying my line. I went from art to prints to necklaces and jewelry. Now I'm starting to add keychains and different things, gift boxes, where people that have a love of a certain animal can purchase this as a gift or for themselves, as a self-care action. And what's nice about that is I send them the symbolism, and I talk to them. I write them a hand note and tell them what this means to me and what it could mean to them, because obviously it's going to mean different, and I can't tell them how they're going to feel. It's another thing.
Right.
But those three steps wrapped in one, I mean, there's no one. Yeah. I take passion in My Path Inspired, because My Path Inspired, it's me. And I want to share that with you, so your path is inspired.
Absolutely.
So that's what that is, all three steps.
Wonderful. So thank you so much, Tela Talise, for being on my show. This has been a fun episode. I loved hearing about your origin story and all of the amazing animals that you have shared with the world. We've seen some of those pictures, and you have to go visit the Etsy store that is it also called My Path Inspired?
Yeah, so when you go to Etsy, they have the www.etsy.com this little slap / shop / my path inspired. And that's my website too. If you went to mypathinspired.com, I have a link where you can go to my social media, my Etsy store, wherever you want to find me, you'll find me there.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you again. And I want to also thank all of the viewers and the watchers and the listeners of The Sweet Sound of Success. What are your dreams for your business? You know what drives me crazy? Really smart business owners denying their talents because they've been taught it has to be hard, because they've been taught that they don't deserve their gifts, that they're not worth anything. They've been taught that their gender means they can't express their genius. I'm Sue Wilhite, and I want you to have access to your genius. I want you to go out and rock the world with your genius. So I created the Call to Action Coaching Program. It's all about getting to the heart of you and what you've got to share with the world to make a profitable business that thrives and allows you to make a difference in the world. Click the link to sign up for the Call to Action Coaching Program today. Don't let your genius go unnoticed.